District Board of Health, and it is December 15th. I first need a roll call and a determination of quorum. Madam Clerk? Present.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Thank you very much. At this time, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance, and if Charlene, could you lead us in that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. District Health Officer, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we have public comment. Any person is invited to speak on any item or on or off the agenda during this period. Action may not be taken on any matter raised during this public comment period until the matter is specifically listed on an agenda as an action item.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment? Okay, thank you. Does anybody wish to speak under public comment that didn't know to sign in? All right, I will close public comment, bring it back to the board. Item number 4 is approval of the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Delgado, second by Hess. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Mr. District Health Officer, recognitions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a number of recognitions today because we're doing kind of a combined November and December meeting, and we also have a proclamation on the agenda. So what I would suggest that we do is run through the recognitions and the proclamation, and then take a brief break to take pictures.
Perfect.
with everyone. I'm delighted to begin with recognizing Sparks Councilman Christopher Dare and welcoming you to the District Board of Health. So we're very pleased to have you participating as our elected representative from Sparks.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
We have several reclasses or promotions that I wanted to mention. Lei Chen has been promoted from an epidemiology or senior epidemiologist to our epidemiology program manager. Lei, if you could stand to be recognized, and then we'll do some pictures later. But congratulations on your promotion. And then Christina Conti, I'm sorry.
In the back row.
Is she here? Okay. Oh, okay. If you could stand, there you are. Christina has had her title change. She's actually taken on some additional responsibilities with Jeff Whiteside's retiring as our supervisor of our public health preparedness program. Christina has taken that on and is now the supervisor for both the EMS and our public health preparedness program. I think that makes a lot of sense with some of those functions going together. I'd also like to recognize Carmen Mendoza, who's been promoted through a reclass from an Office Assistant 2 to an Office Assistant 3 in Vital Statistics. And I believe Carmen is busy at the Vital Statistics counter with our birth and death certificates, so couldn't be here. We also have a number of new hires, and I'd like to have the division directors and our supervisors involved do the introductions. And Dr. Todd, could you start with Carrie Chalkley?
Yes, good afternoon. I would like to introduce Carrie Chalkley. So Carrie is an epidemiologist. We were pleased to be able to recruit her from the state of Virginia. And she had several years of experience as an epidemiologist there. She was moving to Nevada anyway for family reasons, and so we took advantage of that, and she now works for us.
Wonderful.
Good.
Welcome.
I should have mentioned that she has her MPH from Johns Hopkins.
Wow.
And then, Ms. Dinga, could you introduce Felisa Hilliard?
Sure, definitely. Felisa, please stand. Great. This is Felisa Hilliard. She's our new office support specialist with the Office of the District Health Officer. She's coming to us from the Community Services Department, where she worked since 2005. And we're super excited she'll be working on our public health accreditation activities. She's very detail-oriented, very fun to work with, so we're excited to have her on board. And just a cool fact that I'm going to read, because I didn't memorize it, but she's a light wheel and generator mechanic with military intelligence, 1st Cavalry Division for the U.S. Army for 4 years in the Navy. So she's, yeah, very, very great people. So thank you.
All right, so the next item made me realize I actually skipped over the transfers because we have so much on our recognition. So I'll back up to that and maybe do this kind of combined because we have Laura Rogers, who's joining my office as our administrative secretary. So she'll be serving as the clerk function for the Board of Health. So welcome, Laura. We're very pleased to have Laura. Laura joins us most recently from the Treasurer's Office, but has many years of experience with the county at the Comptroller's Office before being promoted into this position. And then apologize for messing up on the sequence here, but I'd like to wrap back around to transfers and recognize Tim Boutron, our Office Assistant 2. Thank you, Tim, who's been reassigned from the WIC program to the Central Clinic area in CCHS. So we're very pleased to provide support in that area. And so then we have Dawn Spinola, who has transferred, and the reason we have Laura with our district health officer position. And Dawn is fortunately, very happy to say, staying within the health district, and she is transferring over to provide support for epidemiology and public health preparedness. So,
Wonderful.
then to continue on with some of the new hires that we have, Steve, Mr. Cutts, could you introduce Christina Shepard?
Sure. Christina, would you like this? So this is Christina Shepard. She is our new advanced practice registered nurse in our family planning program. As you know, finding talented APRNs is hard for us, and we are thrilled to have Christina with us. She has been a nurse for 16 years. She recently got her APRN this last May, and she last worked at St. Mary's, and we were thrilled to have her to the family planning program. She's been hitting it fast and furiously with staff and orientation, and we look forward to getting her fully trained so she can serve our community in the family planning program. So,
Great.
welcome, Christina.
And Mr. Cutts, would you like to continue?
I will just say Sammy, and this is Samantha Beebe, or Sammy as she goes by. She is our new public health nurse, disease intervention specialist in our STD program. She is a Reno native. She last worked for West Hills Hospital, and she has been a nurse for 7 years, and we are now fully staffed in our sexual health program. We're thrilled to have Sammy with us, and she's been a great fit right out of the gate with the program. So welcome, Sammy.
Great.
And Dr. Todd?
Okay, so I kicked it off, and I'll so I'd like to introduce Jackie Lawson. Jackie is an office support specialist in our division. She kind of has a foot in two programs. She is supporting both EMS and public health preparedness, and we acquired her from the Department of Social Services.
Oh, wow.
Where she's spent 6 years.
Great.
We also have achievements to recognize, and if I could have Ms. Albee stand. Charlene Albee has been elected and is now serving on the board of the National Association of Clean Air Agencies, so it's fantastic for us to be able to have Ms. Albee participating and representing the health district on that board.
She's a rock star.
And we have Suzanne Duggar, and I think So she is serving the citizens of Washoe County, but she is being recognized for completion of the Excellence in Public Service Certificate that the county provides. And then we have Ms. Griffey, if you could stand, please. Lori Griffey has completed the Essentials of SAP for HR Reps, another county certificate for that training program. So congratulations. So next, I have a proclamation, and I don't know if do we want to get up and do this at the podium?
It's completely up to you. What would you prefer? You want him to do it formally up at the podium? Yeah, that's why you're here, right?
Okay, so today we have a proclamation for Radon Action Month, and with me to accept this from the Cooperative Extension is Nadia Noel, and we also have Susan Howe, who's with us again today. And so the proclamation is for Radon Action Month, January 2017. Whereas for the safety and health of our community, Washoe County residents need to know that radon is a colorless, odorless, naturally occurring radioactive gas that is the leading cause of lung cancer among non-smokers, the second leading cause of lung cancer in smokers. And whereas the U.S. EPA estimates that 21,000 people in the U.S. die each year from lung cancer caused by indoor radon exposure, killing more people annually than any other cancer. And whereas radon kills more people than secondhand smoke, drunk driving, falls in the home, drowning, or home fires. And whereas living in a home with an average radon level of 4 picocuries per liter of air poses a similar risk of developing lung cancer as smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. And whereas easy and inexpensive testing can identify radon problems, and when identified, homes can be fixed. And whereas the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency support efforts to encourage all Washoe County residents to test their homes for radon, mitigate elevated levels of radon, and have new homes built with radon-reducing materials and features. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Washoe County District Board of Health does hereby proclaim January 2017 as Radon Action Month in Washoe County, Nevada. And with the board's approval, this will be signed today by Kitty Chung, Chair of the Washoe County District Board of Health.
Great, thank you. So I will well, why don't you give your presentation and then we can see whether or not we are going to approve this resolution.
Okay, so again, my name is Nadia Noel, and I work for the Nevada Radon Education Program. It's a program that's a part of the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension. Thank you for presenting us with this Radon Action Month proclamation for January. This is the 4th year that we've received this certificate from you, and we appreciate your support of our service in this area. It's especially important as radon is the primary cause of lung cancer in non-smokers, and the only way to find out if a building has an elevated level of radon is to test. And testing is important because 21% of homes in Washoe County are found to have elevated levels of radon. More than 10,000 homes in Washoe County have been tested, which is still 5.6% of the 2014 Washoe County Census percentage for housing units. From those valid tests that we've received, it turns out that 1,829 homes have had an elevated level. And of those homes, 27% to 467 of them were mitigated. In addition to that success, we've seen that 998 real estate tests have been done, as well as 90 homes have been built with radon-resistant construction. The 998 is up 256 in this past year, as well as 15 up for the radon-resistant construction. The highest level in the state for radon was found in zip code 89509, and that was 195 picocuries per liter. The action level was 4, so you can think about how great a difference that is. and that was found 2 Januaries ago. The areas in our county that have the greatest potential for radon are in zip code 89501, and that potential is 48%. And then the second two that tie are in Verdi in 89439 and Washoe Valley in 89701, and that's 44% potential for elevated level of radon. Because testing is the only way to know if your home has an elevated level, and January is National Radon Action Month, the Cooperative Extension is giving out free test kits to residents of Nevada. And we'll be giving those test kits out from January 1st till February 28th. We also have free test kits today, so if you want to get one, we have those as well. Some locations where you can pick up test kits if you're unable to purchase one today or want to tell a friend or family member include the Washoe County Cooperative Extension Office on 4955 Energy Way, as well as in Sun Valley at their General Improvement District on 5000 Sun Valley Boulevard. We also have 6 presentations coming up from January 7th to February 12th for residents in our community to learn about radon, its health risks and effects. Those dates are January 7th at the Northwest Reno Library, January 12th at the Sparks Library, January 24th at the Spanish Springs Library, February 1st at the Public Works Office in Incline Village, February 8th in South Valley's Library, as well as February 12th at the Sierra View Library. If you want more information on radon, you can call our hotline. It's 1-888-RADON-10, or visit our website, radonnv.com. You can also find us at Facebook, at Nevada Radon Education, or Twitter at NV Radon Program. We're interested in collaboration, so if any of you are working on problems that are related to cancer, specifically lung cancer, we'd be interested in partnering. And we'd like to thank you for this time, for listening about radon and hearing what we have to say. And we have some literature as well over here on the side of me here on the potentials for different zip codes in our area, as well as our presentation schedule and facts on radon. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. Do we have public comment on this item? Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. With that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Novak, second by Hess. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And now it's time to the parade of pictures. My favorite.
Come out front.
Take pictures.
Get in the picture.
Jim, did you want to get your picture taken before you go? Stick around, we'll take everybody's picture.
Please do.
Happy holidays. 1, 2, 3. Still more. 1, 2, 3. Let's have Blake do the toss our head.
That's further away on the list.
Dr. Chan promotion. 1, 3. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, sure, Christina.
I'm good. So remember yesterday when I was like, can I wear jeans? And you said yes. Same. Cute. I'm Christina. Nice to meet you.
Just think, Christine, what we do with Photoshop.
Right? I know. I like a cute full dress. Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
They take it after staff gets up and Good to see you too.
Step closer, please. Could be working with this one for a long time. 2, 3. 2, 3. Well, Dr. Todd back up there? Come on, man.
Randy, meet your new boss.
1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. On briefly. Sarah, step closer, please. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3.
That's it. That's it.
Congratulations to all of you, and may you have a long career with the Health District as well as the county in general. Mr. District Health Officer, and if somebody wants my radon kit, I already have an extra one that I got from our Tuesday meeting, so raise your hand or, oh, nobody cares. Okay, oh, here you go. There you go. You're welcome. Okay, Mr. District Health Officer.
All right, next we have consent items, matters which the District Board of Health may consider in one motion. Any exceptions to the consent agenda must be stated prior to approval.
Does anybody wish to pull anything out of consent at this time?
No, ma'am.
Is there public comment on consent? Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Novak, second by Dare. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any And that motion carries. Any against? That motion carries unanimously. Mr. District Health Officer.
Item 8, public hearing.
I think we have, so the health fund was in the consent?
That was part
Okay,
of the consent,
thank you.
yes. So we have a public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible adoption of the proposed revisions to the District Board of Health regulations governing air quality management, Section 030.600, prevention of significant deterioration. And our staff representative is Ms. Albee.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Health. For the record, Charlene Albee, I'm the Director of the Air Quality Management Division. The regulations that are proposed in front of you today are a direct result of a decision that was made by the U.S. Supreme Court regarding the greenhouse gas rules that are federal regulations implemented by EPA. These regulations apply to major sources of air pollution. In Washoe County, we actually only have 2 of these facilities that are subject to these rules currently, but they will be, once adopted, applicable to any other major sources that come in. What they do is when they establish the greenhouse gas regulations, the decision was made that any facility that emits greenhouse gases over a certain limit should be subject to the federal permitting standards under prevention of significant deterioration. We refer to as PSD regulations. That ruling was challenged, as were all of the greenhouse gas rules were challenged by a number of industry and environmental groups. Through the process of going through the Supreme Court, the decision was made that if a facility is a major source of emissions of criteria pollutants, then in fact they should be accountable for their emissions of their greenhouse gas part of their emission inventory. The part that was pulled out is called the tailoring rule, and what that said is if your major source of greenhouse gas emissions only and minor for the rest of your emissions, you should still be subject to the federal rule and the federal permitting. That's what was shot down by the Supreme Court. So these regulations are actually pulling out that tailoring rule portion so that now facilities that are truly minor sources, even if they are major for greenhouse gas, they don't have to go through the full federal permitting process. That will take, just in perspective, permitting processing time from a year and a half process down to within 30 to 60 days. So it actually is really beneficial for industries that are coming here and for existing ones that want to do expansions. It makes it a lot more friendlier environment that will be able to process the permits. The other cleanup we did once we have these regulations open, we like to work with Region 9 EPA office to make sure that we have all of our administrative processes in order, and so we did some house cleaning on that also. So what this does is strengthen our administrative process with a focus on notification to EPA if we do in fact get an application for a facility that's subject to PSD, and then ensures that we have our public notice and also notification to the facility as to what all is involved. So it basically just cleaned up and opened up our lines of communication. We did have a public notice was given for these regulations. We put out an offer to hold a public hearing. We did not receive any requests, and we did direct contact our facilities that would be subject to these regulations, and they did not have any additional comments either. So with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Any public comment? Okay, thank you. I would then entertain a motion for adoption.
I move to adopt the changes that have been made on this.
Second.
I have a motion by Dare, second by Novak. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9.
Next, we have an update on the Hillside Cemetery disinterment permit, and this is item with Mr. Bob Sack.
Hi, my name is Bob Sack. I'm Division Director of Environmental Health for the Washoe County Health District. The board requested an update regarding our activities with the Hillside Cemetery, so we put together a packet, but our activities have been that in 2014, we issued a disinterment permit for portions of the cemetery. And those permits, that permit was renewed twice, and it is still valid right now. During September of this year, the health officer also added the requirement that, sent out a letter requiring them to also submit a health and safety plan, an operations plan for the disinterment and how it would occur. To date, we have not received that, and to date, we have not received notification that they are doing any disinterment. So no activities have happened under that, that permit, and you know, so that's where it sits at this point. So.
Thank you. Is there any questions from our Dr. Hess?
Yeah, one of the things I was struggling with, particularly since an heir to somebody that was buried there was here at the last meeting, if I remember correctly, is have we clarified the legal status of the heirs? Because it appears to me, in reading this, that Hillside owns all that land except for the graves that are occupied, which the heirs would own. And I don't know if that's true or not.
Ms. Admiran?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 3 parcels that the permit was issued for are owned by Sierra Memorial Cemetery or Gardens, and so they would be the burial authority for those 3 permits. There is some controversy between the parties as to, you know, what the status of the graves are, or whether Sierra Memorial Gardens has the authority to disinter those graves. Mr. Gordon is here representing Sierra Memorial Gardens, and he can comment on that. But my opinion is that I don't have a position on that. That's an issue that would be decided in a court should the issue arise.
That's what I thought too.
Mr. Stat?
Yeah, one other comment I wanted to add is that the basis for us issuing the permit was, one, we received an application, and the only measurement we have is whether or not we consider it to be,
Right.
you know, safe to do it from a public health standpoint, and both from how they were going to do it and because it was all going to be within the properties. They're not transporting across the city or, you know, any distance. We determined that it was appropriate for us to issue that, you know, as far as from a public health standpoint.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
So just to clarify, so we're just saying, the only part we're saying is if somebody else says it's okay, permitting and all that stuff that happens, then we're saying as a health group, that health board, that it's actually permissible on that end, and they still have to go find other people permission-wise, permits and all that stuff.
Yeah, they would still, ours is only for the actual disinterment and reburial of the bodies, actually just the disinterment. And any other permits that are required under, you know, the whole myriad of local government or state or federal would still apply.
Any other questions? Mr. Gordon is here representing the applicant. Is there anything that you would like to further add vis-a-vis this agenda item, which is non-action, so there's no public comment on this item?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Garrett Gordon with the law firm of Lewis, Roca, Rothgerber, Christie. Today, let me just make sure the record is clear. I represent City View Terrace LLC. They hold an option to purchase Hillside Cemetery with Sierra Memorial Gardens. However, I am authorized on behalf of Sierra Memorial Gardens to make this statement today. Sierra Memorial Gardens is a legally defined cemetery authority and therefore has the right to move forward with disinterment and reinterment of the entire cemetery. This is supported by state law, the Ninth Circuit, and numerous examples of similar endeavors across the country. Sierra Memorial Gardens was issued a health district permit that was alluded to a minute ago, pursuant to a specific scope of work for the disinterment of all the burial plots, which expires August 12th, 2017. We did receive, that was mentioned, the September 15th, 2006 letter related to a health and safety plan, and we 100% intend to comply with the health and safety plan as enumerated in the letter referenced earlier. We are currently in discussions with parties who responded to our statutorily required noticing, and we will continue working with the health district staff and all the heirs as required to under state law. And certainly, my client and Sierra Memorial Gardens remain sensitive to the concerns and emotions of all legal stakeholders. It's a sensitive process, but we're doing our best. We have a good a good list of heirs who responded to the notice, and we continue to work with them, have and continue to work with them. I did have one other point to make, and I spoke to Ms. Admiran, and she was agreeable. Certainly it's my job, as the chairwoman knows, to monitor all local government agendas, but Sierra Memorial Gardens did ask, as the permit holder, when these items come up on the agenda, can they just be notified, just so they could be here if their permit is in fact being discussed, whether action item or non-action item. So Leslie thought that was fair, and so I think we'll get notice from now on and make sure someone's here to give updates or provide any responses to questions. So that's all I have, Madam Chair, and thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Gordon? Dr. Novak?
Mr. Gordon, I don't know if you can tell us with your client privilege, what is the reason for moving and disinterring some and moving them to the other part of the cemetery? Is this a consolidation move? Why are we looking to do this in the first place?
It's a great question, Doctor, and I'll answer it by saying, if you look at the history of this location, I mean, it's, if anyone would call it anything but kind of blighted area at this point, there's desecration of the graves. I know the fraternity that was there used to have part of their initiation process was to go out and get a gravestone or go out and get a piece of the cemetery, and so it really is in bad condition. So the idea would be to consolidate. So the speaker earlier mentioned there's no intent to move any remains off-site. It would really to consolidate and to create a perpetual fund, which there isn't right now, perpetual fund to make sure it is preserved, it is cherished, and there's actually, it's actually a place that I think I've lived here my whole entire life, that we can all go up there and be proud of, to show our families and to show tourists and visitors to this area really about our history, and do it in the right way where it's done in a way that we can all be proud of. So that is, I think, answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Gordon? Thank you for being here, and we will make sure you are on the notification list.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Mr. District Health Officer.
Item 10, review, discussion, and possible approval of the business impact statements regarding proposed revision of the regulations of the Washoe County District Board of Health governing public swimming pool and spa operator certification program, with a finding that the revised regulations do not impose a direct or significant economic burden on a business, nor do the revised regulations directly restrict the formation, operation, or expansion of a business, and set a public hearing for possible adoption of the proposed revisions to the regulations for January 26, 2017 at 1 p.m. And we have Mr. Jim English.
Mr. English.
For the record, James English, Environmental Health Specialist Supervisor, Pool and Spa Program Manager. What you have before you is the business impact statement to update these regulations. This ties to District Board of Health strategic objective and priorities for a healthy environment and organizational capacity. This is a change that I wanted to do since I became a supervisor over this program in 2014. Ultimately, this is an efficiency for the business community and for the health district as a whole. Currently, our regulations require us to have everyone become a certified pool operator. With that, they pass a test, they get a certificate, and they somehow have to drive down to our offices, get their picture taken, give us a check, and get another card. What we really need is for them to have that certificate. So by making the changes to these regulations, businesses no longer will have to send their staff down here or pay for this additional cost. The health district will free up staff time both at the front desk and at the environmentalist level on the oversight of these regulations, and we'll have one piece of technology we won't have to update, which is the printer to make the actual cards. We see no impact to public health. We see this as a complete benefit to the community and to the health district. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board?
I have one.
Councilman Dare?
Is there a financial impact in the sense, typically regulations, government makes money off of those, and they tend to, is there a financial impact that ends up looking at?
The changes to these regulations at best will be a wash.
Gotcha.
Where the cost we were charging to print those cards and maintain that equipment did not cover the actual staff time to do it. And then there will be a cost savings to the resident or the business that has to come down here and then pay us the
Well, it seems like removing red tape's a good idea, and I think supporting you is a good idea, so I just wanted to know that, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have public comment, Madam Clerk? Thank you. All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the business impact statement.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Novak, a second by Dare. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. District Health Officer.
We have item 11, review, discussion, and possible approval of business impact statements regarding proposed repeal and replacement of the regulations of the Washoe County District Board of Health governing invasive body decoration, with a finding that the revised regulations do not impose a direct or significant economic burden on a business, nor do the revised regulations directly restrict the formation, operation, or expansion of a business, and set a public hearing for possible adoption of the proposed revisions to the regulations and possible adoption of proposed fees for January 26, 2017 at 1 p.m.
Mr. Rubio.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the record, my name is Wesley Rubio, Senior Environmental Health Specialist in Environmental Health. I'm here to present information to support the possible approval of the business impact statement for the repeal and replacement of the invasive body decoration regulations. A staff report was included in your board packet that summarizes the potential impacts. The largest impact proposed would be the requirement for testing of autoclaves by a certified lab. The cost for the monthly service ranges from $20 for services provided locally, and that's per visit for a total of $240 for the year. Online services will provide the spore testing kits ranging from $84 to $186, depending on the number of spore testing strips you would like to have. The costs are dependent upon the amount of strips, and the testing can be free depending on what service you choose to utilize online, if you chose to go that way. Facilities that are not currently regulated as part of these proposed regulations, we're proposing to regulate the tattoo removal services. They do the same type of services. Those would be required to obtain an annual operating permit. The current cost of an annual operating permit is $189. It involves one inspection per year and just maintaining the facility according to our regulations. There are approximately 14 facilities that were identified by staff through the media and online searches throughout the local area. We went as far as Gardnerville just to make sure that we covered as many possible locations. All of them were sent notifications via mail. All of our public notifications were sent to every permitted facility, and we actually emailed out to all of the operators who have operated in Washoe County over the last 2-year period for other type of venues that were in place. Two fees that are currently proposed to be new and added to are non-annual, or they're not annual and they're not recurring. One is a construction fee, which is proposed and would be required when a facility is being built or remodeled. That would require review through an associated building permit, i.e. Washoe County CSD, City of Reno, or City of Sparks. Those plans are required to be routed to us, and we would conduct a review. Included in that review would be the plan review and on-site inspections prior to them being able to open. A promoter fee is also being proposed. This would require any operator proposing a tattoo or other type of body art show or convention to be able to pay for a fee. This fee covers all of our staff time required to review the proposed location, hand sinks, layouts, facility, the floor, how they're set up, what they're proposing to do, ensure that there's safe and a safe public venue for people to obtain these type of services. Additional impacts to all permitted facilities would be the requirement to have a current certificate demonstrating that all persons have obtained or completed a bloodborne pathogen training. As part of this, in order to have a bloodborne pathogen training as part of the regulation, you'd also be required to have a current hepatitis B certificate or vaccination. And they would either have to have that on site or a declination form if they so choose. These were put in place into the regulations at the request of most of the operators in town. They requested that we add the bloodborne pathogen component, and as part of requesting that component, there is according to the Code of Federal Regulations, there is a hepatitis B requirement that goes along with that. These proposals were written and formatted to ensure that there were minimal impacts to all existing facilities while updating the regulations to meet the current industry and national standards. We made a very big effort to try and minimize any type of external requirements to them that wouldn't be easily put in place for most of the facilities to just continue operating as they are. Therefore, the Washoe County Health District Environmental Health Services recommends the District Board of Health adopt the business impact statements as they are provided. I'm available to answer any questions from the board, provide clarification regarding the staff report that was provided.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rubio. Are there any questions? Dr. Novak?
Mr. Rubio, on this invasion body decoration promoter permit, does this go for during some of the special events? Will this be part of what they have to obtain too? Because I know we have a big annual convention here. So do everybody coming in have to have one of these?
Not everybody. This is actually for the promoter of the event. So the person who organizes the entire event.
Okay.
Up until this time, we've been doing these services basically for free. We spend approximately 3.5 to 6 hours per event trying to organize, make sure that they're going to meet all of our requirements. And then each operator at those events has to obtain a permit for themselves to operate. So that has already been in place. We have those in place. This is just to ensure that the venue and what they're proposing to do will be in accordance with our regulations, meet what we need it to be, and be safe for the public and those persons choosing to go and get a service or at least participate.
Does the $523, since it's a promoter fee, does that cover our cost to spend 3 to 6 hours on site for this?
We believe it does.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do we have public comment on this item? No, we do not. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. So I would entertain a motion for the approval of the business impact statements.
I move approval of the business impact statement.
Second.
I have a motion by Hess, second by Delgado. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Mr. District Health
Next,
Officer.
we have item 12, our Regional Emergency Medical Services Authority reports, beginning with the review and acceptance of the REMSA operating report for October 26. We have Mr. Von Arx.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Don Von Arx from REMSA for the record. You all have received a copy of our report for the review. I do have one process improvement opportunity I wanted to bring to your attention. Currently, we provide the information in this monthly report pretty much real time, so we're looking at the following month. We're always looking at the data for the following month. What we'd like to do is adjust the review period for the average bill to be a month behind. And what we found is to get the average bill accurate, we really need to have a lag time after the month closes to compensate for insurance adjustments and contractual obligations. You'll also notice the average bill will decrease by 4 cents. That was Christina and her team doing due diligence and looking at the audit found that, well, because we were trying to be too real time, we were about 4 cents off last compliance year. So we're going to make those adjustments on that part. Anything in the I just discussed or in the report you'd like me to answer? Any questions? Dr. Hess?
Dr. Hess?
I have a suggestion, at least it would help me. On your demographics, I know,
Customer service.
having seen seeing ER reports that you do have this patient's age, and yet there's no age noted here. And
Yes.
I would really like to see Dell develop some system to make sure that information gets over to the demographics.
And as you know, Dr. Hess, this is a third party we use. They seem to do a good job. We've asked them now 2 times to get the demographics.
I would go somewhere else.
Well, no, so we have confirmed that they get the data, and up until this report, they have not. So you will see that going forward, okay?
Okay, great.
Thank you for reminding us about that.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept. Oh, are there any public comment? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. I will entertain a motion to accept their ops report.
A motion, we accept the report as with the changes that he mentioned.
Second.
I have a motion by Dare, a second by Novak. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 12B.
Madam Chair, Mr. Romero is not here today, does not have any operational updates.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. District Health
Madam
Officer.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
I would like to note, Don, that on the educational and training report part and this, I guess basically the statistics in that same packet, you have added something I've noticed on this in the ground ambulance customer comments section, where you've signed these to Stacy. And I like the comments coming back that you've looked into them, this is where it is. I certainly understand that a lot of these little comments don't have a real factual basis, but you did go ahead and look into them. I like that addition to what you're doing, so makes it more transparent for us, so thank you.
Good point. Thank you, Dr. Novak.
Okay.
District Health Officer, item 13.
Item 13, presentation, discussion, and possible acceptance of the 2016 Solid Waste Management Plan for Washoe County as drafted, and direction to staff to submit the plan to the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection for final approval as required in NRS 444.510, and if the plan is approved with no edits, to enact the plan and objectives. We have Mr. Jim English.
Mr. English?
Madam Chairwoman and members of the board, James English, Environmental Health Specialist Supervisor, Waste Management Program Manager. What you have before you is the updated solid waste management plan for Washoe County itself, not just, which includes the entire health district. As everyone should know, we are the Solid Waste Management Authority for Washoe County, which includes the cities of Sparks, Reno, and unincorporated Washoe County, including the GIDs. What you have before you is the state-required 5-year solid waste management plan that we use to base our activities as the Solid Waste Management Authority. One thing I'm extremely excited about is this is the first time this plan has actually been updated within the 5-year time frame as required by law. I want to thank Lee Bryant, who just recently left our agency, and also Luke Franklin, the senior environmentalist of the program, to make sure this got done. This is part of the strategic objectives and the health district's overarching goals that were set last April as one of the priorities we wanted to accomplish. So what you have before you is the framework we'll be using for the next 5 years as we work on public outreach, working with the various stakeholders in the waste management sector across the community to increase recycling, increase waste diversion, and properly manage and dispose of any waste out there. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay, so this is a 5-year update that we do.
Yes.
Any questions? Dr. Hess?
I have one. First of all, it's an excellent report. You did a great job on it. And it's hard to imagine waste management being interesting, but I found it to be kind of interesting. The one question that really kind of nags at me, though, is when you look at how big Washoe County is, and how, what happens in the far north? I have an idea that Gerlach, because they have a kind of a waste management thing there, but what happens north of Gerlach?
North of Gerlach, we actually work with those residences if necessary to work on waste options. They have the option to haul it down to the Gerlach transfer station.
Okay.
They also, because that's so rural, have options to potentially divert into Eastern California. Some of them segregate their waste quite a bit and stockpile. We don't enforce the 7 days as strongly up there, but I can also tell you, we don't get any complaints up there.
No.
So we work with them as
Nobody there.
necessary. And usually if you're that far north, you probably don't want government involved.
You live there for a reason. That's true. Any other questions?
I have one question and on here, and
Councilman Dare?
I noticed on here that it shows Washoe County has done extensions, and are they just in the middle of signing up their agreement? It looks like everybody else is 29, 28, 26, except there's been 2 6-month extensions from Washoe County.
Actually, the Washoe County Health District is not really part of the franchise negotiations. That's actually Washoe County. But I can say that since this report was put together, and it's put together, finalized a month before it was supposed to go to the board in November, the county has since signed an updated franchise agreement, and I believe that was November 28, 2016. They are pretty much mirroring the City of Sparks franchise agreement.
Well, I think that's a good idea to mirror Sparks.
I represent Sparks too, so it's okay.
No,
They actually got a pretty good franchise agreement.
I just actually didn't know if they actually if that was the normal thing. 6 months is what, because I know entities sometimes function a little differently, so I'm just trying to learn how that functions.
They took some time to do their negotiations.
Fair enough.
Any other questions? All right, I will entertain a motion to accept the 2016 Solid Waste Management Plan.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Novak, second by Dare. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. You want me to read this one for you, Mr. District Health Officer?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Agenda item 14, recommend to approve a 3% cost of living adjustment, COLA, retroactively to July 1st, 2016, a 3.5% COLA effective July 1st, 2017, and a 2.5% COLA effective July 1st, 2018 in base wage, and updated sick leave, bereavement calculations, holidays, and health plans to keep the district health officer's position in alignment with the other unclassified management positions. So I hear you were a little gun-shy, board, when I wasn't here for this meeting, and I'm sorry. This is in direct reflection of what the bargaining units received. And so represented employees get what the bargaining units get, for which you oversee. So this is not a giant reach, this is not a grab, this is exactly what everybody else is getting, and that's how we do it since they don't have bargaining units.
So
Dr. Hess?
So the 3-year, it seemed kind of weird to me, because usually you talk about salaries every year.
We
You've
tried,
only got 3 years.
right.
And also, if you look at our cost of living in Washoe County, it ranges from about 1% to just slightly more than 0% the last 3
I
years.
understand that.
Yeah.
This is what is called collective bargaining, and this is what we were able to hit. And it actually saves you a lot of money as a taxpayer when we don't have to do this every year, bargaining with these units. And it makes the employees value their job a lot more. And they have some consistency and predictability, but when we went through the recession, we had to go year to year. We couldn't go, and we would never go more than 3 years, just so you know.
Okay.
Some other jurisdictions go like 5 years, and that, to me, is wildly speculative that everything's going to be okay. But this was direction from the Board of County Commissioners to do multi-year contracts at this point in time. And we have an escape clause, too. We always do. We're management, said the Democrat, right? So, do we have any public comment here? Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to approve.
Approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Novak, second by Delgado. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. I'll read item 15 as well. Review and approval of District Health Officer's annual performance evaluation results and possible approval of a 2% wage increase retroactive to his annual evaluation date of October 24th, 2016, item tabled during original meeting date of October 27th, 2016. And I am your staff representative. If you have any questions, do you want to go over the review? What popped out for you? What's, and also any guidance for goals that you'd like him to meet this next fiscal year would be appropriate. Do you want me to start with you, Dr. Hess? Okay. Councilman?
Back to me, Chair.
Okay. Councilman Dare?
To me, you're the best one I've ever had. That's so nice to meet you. But I would say I read your review. That's one of the things that I do come to the table with is getting to run and work with employees and different things and doing reviews, and all of it looked very good. The only small thing that I did see that I would say, I think it had to do with people how they view the larger picture. There's only one area that seemed like you had some knocks, and reviews are always interesting because I'm sure you work very hard, and some of those things are out of your control. They're not like you're sitting here are the one that are presenting that. But I want to tell you, it seemed like you're doing a great job from what I've seen, and it seems like your review looked very good. So I'll have
Thank
more
you.
to say next time, I'm sure. but-
Yes, you will. Thank you. Dr. Novak?
My only comment is the District Board of Health had a response of 29.4%. I'd like to see our board and the people here respond a little bit better, so it's a little more broad-based.
Sure.
Especially since it
I
is
think
a
that's
review
fair.
that comes in anonymously, so I think that next year, the board needs to push people to get things back, one way or the other.
Let's remind
Are we-
ourselves. Dr. Hess? Can you speak into your microphone, sir? Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm not sure if I misinterpreted it, but I thought we represented 29% of those total evaluations.
Right. But only 5 of, right, 1, 2, how many are on this board?
6, 7.
7, yeah, only 5 of us responded.
But it's still more than 29% of the board, that's.
No, yes, I understand.
Right.
Yeah,
Good point.
okay.
But I, you know, in my thoughts here is this is something, since we all work with the district health officer on a little bit more basis than some other groups outside, that I think it's important that all of us.
We can't make them, though. I mean, that's just
No,
the way
I
it is.
understand that.
But we'll whip them next year.
We can encourage them.
We'll embarrass them next year.
Thank you.
I'll start back down with Dr. Hess. Do you have anything else you'd like to add into the microphone?
Things seem to be coming along nicely.
Great, that's great. Councilman Delgado?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just like to say it's been a great pleasure working with Mr. Dick here, even through the Truckee Meadows Healthy Communities outside in the community. The amount of work he's been doing, it's been great seeing that the health board has been part of those conversations as we're trying to move the needle in many different ways throughout the community. So, good job, Mr.
Thank you for all that work too, Councilman. So that leaves me. Well, I've been here the longest, and I can tell you that this is the first time, the first district health officer that I've been pleased with. We've fired 2, and then I begged Mr. Dick to come on board to take the appointment because it was abundantly clear that we needed an administrator, not a doctor, to run our programs. When I first started here, the number one HR time usage was the health district. Lots of chaos, lots of dysfunction. A lot of that went with attrition, right? People retired, but we really needed a leader that knew how to be an administrator and not a practicing doctor. And I know that was difficult for some people on here when we were going through the process, but I think that the point has been made, and I have to give a lot of credit for that to my former vice chairwoman, Councilwoman Julia Ratty. She really put a lot of work in that as well. So I am very pleased with the district health officer's performance, and my only goal for you this year, I would say, is just keep working on the big projects you're working on. I know you just hired somebody for the Healthy Communities to be the executive director, and you've taken this in a way that we've never had an active district health officer out there actually doing community health services. So even though they were doctors, presumably you think they'd be more engaged. So that's enough trashing on them. They've heard it already, don't worry. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the health officer's performance eval and a 2% wage increase retroactive to our last meeting on October 24th.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. No public comment. Any further discussion? Hearing, yes, it's lovely for you to say something. Thank you.
Well,
No,
first
we
of
know
all,
it's your fault, Kitty.
thank you all. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to serve as the district health officer. So I thank you for that. But I also need to acknowledge the work that's been done by the health district staff and the leadership team. We've really asked the health district staff to do a lot over the past 3 years, and they've responded remarkably well and have really moved the health district forward. And so I'm really proud of the achievements that we've had over that period of time and over the past year. But also I'm grateful for the division directors and the leadership team of them and supervisors and seniors that we have in the health district. They're all working together very well and provide tremendous support to me in serving our community and advancing public health. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's well stated. All right, we have a motion by Jung, a second by Novak. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations and well-deserved, Mr. District Health Officer.
Thank you. Next, we have item 16, possible approval of the 2017 Washoe County District Board of Health meeting calendar. And so the calendar is included in your packet, and there's a brief staff report that the gist of which is to explain that this is the standard approach for the calendar in November and December, though we have the holidays, so we typically move to the third Thursday of the month. The third Thursday in December, if we stuck with that, is getting pretty close to Christmas at the 21st. So we're proposing that the Board of Health meet on the second Thursday in December of 2017 to place the meeting on Thursday, the 14th. I would also add that we have not yet calendared a date for an annual review of the strategic plan. And I do have a phone call coming up with Erica Olson of On Strategy to talk about how we're doing, and I anticipate that'll be one of the things that we start kicking around is when to do that. I don't think December is probably a good time to shoot for since we're already moving the meeting up, but I guess I'm hopeful that maybe perhaps early November might be an opportunity for us, but we'll have to get that scheduled in the calendar as we progress.
Great, any questions? Dr. Hess?
Just a comment for me personally, and I certainly can work around it for the majority. It actually, I have some other organizations that have meetings, and they tend to be in the early part of the month. And maybe it'll be nice to get them all over in a short period of time, but
Maybe
my
busy.
preference would be to stick with the 21st, but if everybody else prefers the other one, that's fine.
It's up to the board. It doesn't matter to me either way. I mean, it's getting close to Hanukkah too at that date. There's not so I think it's just a traditional time people travel, right? Because their kids are off school, whether you practice Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, this is just a time when kids are off school and families want to go spoil their kids for the holidays.
I'm good with it as it stands.
To change it or
No,
to?
I'm, either way, I don't care.
Well,
the
I don't
ti- the
care.
timing, you got a
Novak
good
doesn't
points.
care. Delgado, you have kids. Dare, you have kids in college, so they'll probably be home for college.
I was gonna say, I like the idea of moving it, and
Well, then let's do it.
I say that because to me, my kids do come to town and or I might just be gone, so I will actually probably just.
He's also a preacher, so he's got business
Yeah,
during
this
this
is actually,
time.
things do get a little busy.
This is the busy season.
I help run a school, and between that ending and everything else.
Change it.
Yeah. Okay.
Leave it.
All right, so if I could get a motion to approval of the 2017 Washoe County District Board of Health meeting calendar.
If you can repeat it, I'll second it.
I move to accept the calendar as they have presented.
Have a second? Did you say you second it?
Yeah.
Novak seconded. Okay, a motion by Dare, second by Novak. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. District Health Officer.
Actually, the next item is the election of the District Board of Health Chair for 2017-2018. So I guess I would defer to the board as to how they would like to.
How would you like to handle this, board? Dr. Novak?
I don't know how we've done it in the past, because I wasn't here for that part, but
Are there term limits or?
Are there term limits?
2 years.
The terms are 2-year terms, but I do not believe that there's a limit to the number
No,
of
the
terms.
attorney is shaking her head no.
Yeah, there isn't a limit in the bylaws.
I would nominate our current chair to continue to be the chair. I think she's doing a good job.
Oh, thank you. Motion by Hess, second by Delgado. Any public comment? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Unless you oppose.
No. This is my favorite board that I serve on, if you guys can't tell. This is my #1 favorite board. Better than Board of County Commissioners, believe it or not. We need now, item 18 is the election of the District Board of Health Vice Chair for 2017-2018. Any ideas? Anybody willing and able and excited to do it?
I'll do it.
Okay, Dr. let me tell you why I would support Dr. Novak for Vice Chair. He is in leadership at the national level with the National Association of Local Boards of Health. He attends the annual meetings in August in Kansas City, Missouri. She couldn't get me to do that ever. He comes back and teaches us all his best practice. I think he's paid his dues here on the board. He's been here one of the longer ones here, and I just think he's very enthusiastic about his role here and very dependable and reliable and digs into every issue. Not that the rest of you don't either. You're all great. But I would make the motion that we make Dr. Novak the District Board of Health Vice Chair.
Second.
Motion by Jung, second by Hess. Any public comment? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And speaking of which, item 19.
Approval of authorization to travel and travel reimbursements for non-county employee Dr. John Novak in the approximate amount of $550 to attend the 2017 NALBO Interim Board Meeting in St. Louis, Missouri in early 2017. And Madam Chair, you just did a great intro for this item. Dr. Novak is on the NALBO board. They're anticipating a meeting coming up sometime early next year. It's not yet all fully scheduled, but we wanted to get this on the agenda so we could approve moving forward with supporting travel for Dr. Novak to attend that meeting.
I think we don't
Absolutely.
have a date yet either, so.
Dr. Novak doesn't have a date yet either, but early 2017 in St. Louis, Missouri. No, thank you.
I move authorization for travel and travel reimbursements for Dr. Novak.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion by Hess, a second by Dare. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We go to item 20, staff reports.
And first, we have air quality management, Ms. Albee.
For the record, Charlene Albee, I don't have anything else to add, but I'm available for
Any questions for Ms. Albee?
I do have a comment,
Dr. Novak, yeah.
I want to commend you and your staff. You have done a lot of work over the last 6-8 months trying to deal with EPA. And if it's like everybody else's federal agency, knowledge and experience doesn't seem to interfere with their processes. So, so I really want to commend you that you've done a great job and seem to start down the line of building a good rapport with them too. So I really want to commend you. That's great stuff.
Yeah, she's a rock star, for sure.
Next, we have community and clinical health services, Mr. Cutts.
I have nothing further to add, but would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for for Mr. Cutts? Thank you, Mr. Cutts.
I have a
Oh,
question.
Dr.
actually.
Hess.
Do we have a sense of how many folks have had flu shots in the county? A percentage or anything?
For the record, Steve Cutts, Division Director, CCHS. We do not have county totals for flu because it's spread throughout the community, healthcare providers, pharmacists, clinics, us, the health district.
So we really don't know where we are, I guess.
No, sir. Yes.
Is there do we have a mechanism to find that out? Because everybody and their brother is selling flu shots. Do they, at the end of the month, do these other entities have to send a report to the health department and health board?
Per Nevada revised statute, immunizations are a reportable event to the state immunization system, WebIZ. So we can get data of number of flu immunizations provided. I'll check with the state health division, their informatics department, and see if I can get some data for you, and I can report that out at the January Board of Health.
I'd appreciate it because there's a lot of flu shots given out at Costco and CVS and everything else. And
yes,
it won't affect our health overall, but it would be a nice number to know. Is there some efforts that we need to go into looking into next year to encourage this, that we can help them? I don't care about the profit angle, but get more people immunized.
Sure, and I can tell you, sorry if I may comment, our community partner, Immunize Nevada, so statewide immunization coalition, they do a lot of promotion throughout the state, PSAs, radio ads, print, social media, ton of encouragement regarding not only flu, but all immunizations.
Good.
All right,
Question.
Councilman Dare?
So, forgive me on my naivety, I don't know some of these things yet. So, with that, are we the ones that are giving out these flu shots so they come get them from here, or do they get them wherever they want and they call them flu shots? Like, you understand? So, you're right. a
I
lot
think
of
I can answer your question.
Yeah.
So there are only so many manufacturers that manufacture flu vaccines. Only out of those, not all of them are approved by the FDA. FluMist, for example, the intranasal influenza vaccine this year was not approved for use, not recommended by Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, so it was pulled from the market. So they are approved by the FDA. They are recommended by Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, made available by immunization manufacturers and vendors, and then we order accordingly to provide immunizations, as do most providers throughout Washoe County or throughout the U.S., 6 months of age and older. Pharmacies often don't provide immunizations to anyone under the age of 9. It's just a comfort level issue. Immunize Nevada is working to promote and encourage pharmacies to offer it to younger recipients. We see a good number of people here for influenza. We also see it at our family health festivals. Councilman Dare, you'll be hearing about that. Our next one is in January 25th. It's never too late to get the flu vaccine. I know the numbers are up. There was just a press release that was out today, I believe. Is that right? Yes. And I know Dr. Todd was doing some media. So yes, when people are getting flu vaccines here in the U.S. and in Washoe County, they're actually FDA-approved, ACIP-recommended flu vaccines. That was probably a way longer answer than what you wanted, but
It's good, though.
okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? All right.
Next, we have Environmental Health Services, Mr. Sack.
Any questions for Mr. Sack? Thank you.
We have Epidemiology and Public Health Preparedness, Dr. Todd.
I do have a couple of things to add, Randall Todd, for the record. Just to, while she's getting something up on the screen, and I don't know if you can make it so that it shows up on this wall. There's another button that you can push, but while she's looking at that, let me just follow up a little bit on part of the influenza discussion that Mr. Cutts had. It's my understanding that we do have some numbers on flu shots in Nevada that come from last year. So we don't really have this year's information, but we do have last year's from the CDC. And I believe it's 36%.
Yeah, it's not the majority for sure.
Right,
I can't remember the
so
percentage off the top of my head.
roughly a third of our state population gets their flu shot, which is not very good. In fact, I'm told that it's the worst in the nation.
Oh, lovely.
So, once again, Nevada is at the bottom of every good list and the top of every bad list, and that just seems to be our fate. But anyway, continuing on the influenza topic for just a moment, if I can find my report here. So you have in your packet some flu information, although we put those packets together early enough that they're already a little dated by the time we get to this meeting. So I have in front of me the more recent report that goes through December the 10th. And we are up on the when we track the influenza-like illnesses, so we asked 12 healthcare providers in the county to inform us every week of how many patients they saw in their practice, and of that total number, how many had what appeared to be the flu. We call that ILI, or an influenza-like illness. And we track that week by week. So it is up around, for week 49, about 3.2%, which is above the cutoff point for the region. Interestingly, when we look at laboratory confirmed cases, we have it looks like about 240 lab confirmed cases. that is, if you see the graph, and I didn't bring that up, but this blue line here, that's going up steeply and earlier than it has in any of the last 5 years. We're not quite sure why that is. The ILIs don't look that abnormal, but the lab confirmed cases sort of do. And so we, although the nation as a whole doesn't seem to be having a particularly abnormal flu season, we certainly seem to be having quite a bit of flu here in Washoe County. So with that, let me move on to, I also wanted to comment on a couple of things. And if we can click on the antibiogram, I wanted to comment on that just briefly. So an antibiogram is simply a tool that we use to help physicians in their decision about what antibiotic they want to prescribe. And yeah, if you can click on the 2015 antibiogram, that one there. So Dr. Chin, this is sort of her project, and we have it available online, so you can go to our website and poke around in here if you want to. But you'll notice that we have a whole list of various bacteria here. These are not all reportable diseases, but they are important bacterial infections that frequently occur in hospitals. And Blake, if you could click on, let's do Staphylococcus aureus. So you can see there were over 2,000 specimens that were looked at. And when you click on that, you can see a list of antibiotics. And if you were a physician trying to decide what antibiotic you wanted to prescribe, you would probably go for those that are shaded in green, because those are at least 90% of the isolates were sensitive to that particular antibiotic. And if you absolutely had to, you might go to a yellow one. You'd probably never want to go to a red one. If we don't have a color there, it's because we didn't have any data for that organism and that particular antibiotic. So that gives you some idea of what an antibiogram looks like. We've been producing an antibiogram basically ever since Dr. Chin came to work here. I don't know if we produced one before you came.
Since 2003.
Since 2003, we've been producing these. So subsequently, other agencies are sort of following suit. I think the Southern Nevada Health District down in Las Vegas is now doing their own antibiogram. And there's been some discussion of a statewide antibiogram, but I must point out that these are most useful when they are based on local data. So some of our hospitals actually have a hospital-specific antibiogram, and that's great for hospitalized patients. But for those that are practicing outside of a hospital, if they're seeing patients outside of a hospital setting, this is based on data that is all local. And even I would suggest that some of the data is coming from some of the surrounding counties, because those patients tend to get hospitalized here. So it's a regional antibiogram that is fairly useful to us. Okay, and what?
It's a wall chart.
We have a wall chart format of it, so doctors can hang this in their office on the wall. We have a pocket version that they can keep in their lab coat, and then we have the online version that we just showed.
So the graph just to show you.
You need to speak in the microphone so the clerk can get this on, or have him say it.
What was I supposed to say later? Okay, so you see a graph there that's showing a trend over time. Okay, I think unless there are questions on the antibiogram, I'll move on to the last item.
Can I make a comment?
Dr. Hess.
From my perspective, this is one of the most valuable things that the health department does for the health of our community and for individuals. If you think about it, if you're sick with pneumonia and they get, Klebsiella instead of pneumococcal on the culture, having the right antibiotic is critical to your life. So it's really a valuable help to have this.
Yeah, thank you for that observation, Dr. Hess. The other thing I would just point out before we get completely off of this, the pharmaceutical company is not coming out with new antibiotics very frequently. I'm not sure how long it's been since they've come out with a new one, but as we get more and more of these bugs that are resistant to the antibiotics that we do have. You know, this threatens to put us back into the pre-antibiotic era, which is pretty terrible to even contemplate. So the more we can get physicians to use the antibiogram, and it is one of the more popular products that we produce, then they are going to be picking antibiotics that are effective, and it will hopefully forestall the development of further antibiotic resistance. A few years ago was presenting this at the med school over across the way, and the professor in whose class I was guest lecturing interrupted me, and he said, you know, all right, med students, you know, get your heads out of your laptops, because med students notoriously don't pay any attention to whoever's speaking in their class. He said, you know, get your heads out of your laptops, pay attention to this. This is one of the most important things that you can ever have to assist you in your practice of medicine, which I was kind of overwhelmed that he said that, but it was good. Anyway, we'll move on to, Leigh, if you can bring up the current version of the CD annual report. I wanted to just make a couple of comments on that and let you know that it exists, and it's online here if you want to peruse it in more detail than I'm going to cover. I'll give you just a second to do that. Find it. Now, you might wonder, why is this the 2015 CD report? We're almost done with 2016. Well, it takes us a fair amount of time to compile all the data, so it takes us almost all of 2016 to compile 2015. And we're already beginning to think about the 2016 report. But this is it. And Blake, if you can scroll down to the summary page, I want to point out a couple of things. And as I said, this is online, so you can peruse it in more detail at your leisure. Fairly early on, there we go. So there you can see some reports by selected diseases. This is not, in any sense, all of the diseases that we look at, but this is some selected ones, and we have them from 2011 to 2015. And if you notice, some are kind of staying the same over these 5 years. Others are going up rather dramatically. I would point out, if you look at chlamydia, which is the second one on that list in 2011, there were 1,478 reported cases of chlamydia, and we are up to over 2,000 cases reported in 2015. So that is a little bit concerning. In fact, it's quite a bit concerning. Notice also that gonorrhea, in 2011, we were at 212 cases and 547 cases in 2015. So I know that the STD program is aware of that and working hard on it, but it is still a little bit of a concern. Leigh, if you can scroll down to pertussis. Okay, it's down near the bottom of that. Notice that pertussis was, there we are, pertussis, otherwise known as whooping cough. Last year, in 2014, we had 56 cases of pertussis. So that's literally an outbreak, but we're back down to 13 for 2015, which is a good thing. Salmonella is up. Syphilis is happily down a little bit. That had gone up quite a bit for a number of years, and it appears that maybe that has peaked and is on its way back down, so that's a good thing. And then lastly, Leigh, if you could scroll down to about page 50 of the report.
I love it.
One of the things, if you dive deeper into this report, that you will, I think we might, page 5, as it appears on the page itself.
That's
51, we're almost there. There we go. Come back down. I'm interested in that chart right there at the bottom. If you can scroll to this. So here we're looking at chlamydia cases, and notice that we are, in that chart, we're looking at the reported cases per 100,000 population. So if you were going to pick a part of our population to really work on for chlamydia, you would have to say, even though we probably have more white cases than we do black cases, in terms of the impact on a particular population, the black population is being quite a bit more impacted, and even the American Indian population is being quite a bit more impacted than some of the other groups. So compiling this type of data helps programs like Steve's to know how to target their interventions. And then lastly, if you can scroll down to page 56, we have similar data for gonorrhea, I believe. Oops, you went way too far. Almost there. Oops. 56. Okay, same type of chart, although here we're looking at chlamydia, and once again, you see the black population being overrepresented in terms of the rate per 100,000 in terms of the gonorrhea. So there's lots of other information, but we don't have time to go through the entire report with you. As you can see, it's a fairly lengthy report, but I would encourage you to peruse it online if you would like to, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions for Dr. Todd?
I sure
Dr.
do.
Hess? I mean, Dr. Novak?
Just going back and look at your number of Sentinel providers, you have
Yes.
12. What type of practices are these that you're getting? Is this individual practices, or is this like from St. Mary's or Renown, or?
It includes those, it includes the university, student health. Help me out, Dr. Carey.
There's, four.
Okay, you need to come speak in the microphone for the clerk. And state your name for the record, please.
Carrie Chalkley.
Thank you.
So there are 12 Sentinel providers. 4 of those are emergency departments, 7 are urgent cares, and it also includes student health.
Good, so we've got a really good grasp of the population then, so.
We do, and if you look at CDC guidelines on doing sentinel flu surveillance, they would say, it's based on your population, and they would suggest for the size of our population, we should have 1 or 2 sentinel providers. We have 12.
Wow. So we're at the top of some things.
We are at the top of a good list.
Stop saying
We're real
that.
good counters.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Todd.
Good job.
All right, next is my report, the Office of the District Health Officer, and I had just a few things that I wanted to highlight for you. We've been now live with the Acela permit software program since October 31st, and it's been a lot of work getting to go live, and it continues to be a lot of work for staff to work with the system and to get things fixed that are buggy with it, get scripts going that we need for reports, get things fixed to be able to properly bill, and also to work with the other jurisdictions so that the workflow works properly. We're in a unique situation with a health district that we're not just taking in permits to process for our own jurisdictional area. We're relying on working with cities of Reno and Sparks and with Washoe County with their permitting programs and the permits coming through them and getting to us. So we are still working on the implementation. We have a meeting with the oversight group. That's our open meeting. That's for the oversight of the interlocal agreement for this regional permitting project. That's going to occur on Wednesday. Part of the discussion is going to be regarding when the transition from Acela's implementation group to Acela's continuing ongoing support group will take place. And we're quite concerned that we get Acela's attention on the implementation side to get fixed what they're supposed to have fixed for implementation before we go to support. So I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of where we're at with that project and that meeting that's coming up. On Truckee Meadows Healthy Communities, as Chair Jung mentioned, we've brought on Sharon Zadra as a project director for Truckee Meadows Healthy Communities. We're very happy to have her join us. I've had the fortune of working with Ms. Zadra for a number of years, starting with when she had her own communications and marketing company. Then, as you'll recall, she was a Reno City Councilwoman and a member of the Board of Health. We had a competitive recruitment process that resulted in her selection. We're also moving rapidly in moving forward with establishing Truckee Meadows Healthy Communities as a not-for-profit. We're now a legal entity. We've got a IRS employee identification number. We're working on the bylaws and all the other things that go along with establishing that status with 501c3. And I wanted to acknowledge the assistance that we've had with this from the Renown Health Foundation, and Councilman Delgado in his role with Renown is helping us with moving through some of the process with their support as a fiscal agent as we transition over. They've just been very generous with the assistance that they've provided for us. The 2017 legislative session is just about upon us. We have 54 more days until the session begins. As of yesterday, we had 664 BDRs that had been filed and 168 pre-filed bills. So we've been monitoring those and identifying ones that the health district needs to be watching. We will be working with the county as the legislative session commences and be participating with a bill tracking system that they've established. And we'll be getting additional training on this new system in January. I wanted to mention that I have been working with several different people and organizations on community water fluoridation. I had a meeting with Assemblywoman Joyner a couple of weeks ago, who intends to submit a BDR for community water fluoridation to move the population threshold back to 400,000. It was raised to 700,000 back in 2011. We've also been working with Tumwa, and Tumwa has been developing a preliminary design and cost estimate for what it would take for community water fluoridation, so that we can have some sound numbers to use for what is the cost impact in the community and what is the benefit that would derive from this. And so I'll have, they're still refining some of those numbers, but it looks fairly promising for the return on investment that would come from that for improvement in dental health in the community. Also on the legislative side, I wanted to mention we have now the Assembly and Senate chairs have been identified, and on the Health and Human Services Committee on the Assembly side, Assemblyman Sprinkle from Sparks will be chairing that committee. On the Senate Health and Human Services, Senator Spearman will be chairing that committee, but Julia Ratty, formerly of Sparks and the District Board of Health, will be the co-chair on that committee. So,
good for her.
So just wanted to put that news out there. Lastly, I wanted to acknowledge that we received a thank you letter that was, I believe, in the November report packet, but it was inadvertently omitted from this packet, so I placed it on the dais for you. This is a thank you letter from the Washoe County District Board of Health Scholarship recipient at UNR, Miss Natalie Reevy, and so she's from Fallon. She's interested in epidemiology and disease investigation, and I just wanted to point out in here that she says, I'm especially grateful for this award because I rely on financial aid and grants to help finance my education. As a first-generation student, this was also true of my undergraduate degree. I'm proud to say that I graduate debt-free, so a much appreciated scholarship for Ms. Reevy, and wanted
She's
to
amazing.
acknowledge her thank you.
Have we sent her an application?
She's for our.
Yes,
we'll,
for us.
We'll rely on Dr. Todd to do that recruitment.
Is that all?
Mr. Dick?
Yes, Dr. Novak.
I have a question regarding the way the state looks at fluoridation. Was it limited by law to communities that are 700 400,000 people. So what we're doing by proposing 400, it will make, Washoe County eligible to do that. Is there any chance that we may drop that? There are lots of communities in this state that would benefit from fluoridation. It's cheap, it's proven, it's not controversial anymore.
Oh, it's controversial, Betty.
Yeah,
Have you
well,
met Nevada?
Yeah. Yeah, but there is a lot of scientific evidence for this, that it really does work. Yeah.
So,
Climate change is a hoax too, that the Chinese put together, so.
Oh.
that's a point well taken, Dr.
But we
Novak.
don't, we do not set other counties' priorities, right?
And I just wanted to relate that I did not get any support from Carson City as wanting to try to drive that number lower. And I believe that the intent is at this point really to just push that number back to where it was at the 400,000 as being, I think, the most viable looking opportunity legislatively. And selfishly, perhaps, I'd like to pursue the path that provides the best opportunity for Washoe County.
Yeah, correct. But kind of my field of expertise, spent my whole life doing it. There are some other benefits that can be proven, but legislative-wise, maybe this is the tack that need to take, so.
Any other questions or comments for the district health officer? All right, we will then move on, Mr. District Health Officer, to item number 21. This is board comments. This is limited to announcements or issues for future agendas. I'll start to my left. Anything? Anybody? All right. Any public comment, Madam Clerk? And with that being said, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.